This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
I'm in chains, I'm in chains. Time, always saying she's such a sucker with the cold, flamed eyes, highs of night. Always saying she's such a sucker.
Program is rated MA-LSV. It contains strong language, sexual situations, and violence. It is intended only for mature audiences.
Finally, show with the balls to call it like it is. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
Countdown to audio torture.
The Rated R Safety Show starts in 3, 2, 1.
Let the eardrum pain begin.
Forget the corporate bullshit. This is the Rated R Safety Show with your host, Dr. It doesn't matter who the host is.
Well, I think we have established this already, but it's always a good remembrance to make reference to it. It does not matter who the host is. What has always mattered is who the listeners are. Anyways, we are broadcasting from the Safety FM studios in Orlando, Florida on this lovely May the 27th, which makes it a Whip 'em Out Wednesday, but don't worry about that aspect. So we are broadcasting from here, but we're also hanging out with our friends and family over there. Did I say friends and family? Did I say friends and family? I guess friends and family.
Radio Big, mastering the art of putting music on shuffle. Radio Big.
I don't even know how friends and family came to the brain, but okay, anyways, that's what happened there. So anyways, how are you? How are things going on inside of your neck of the woods? I'm always kind of interested on what's going on because, listen, you never know what's going on inside of this world, that's for sure. A lot of stuff seems to be moving and grooving no matter what the hell's happening because we got so many things to talk about in such little periods of time that I kind of go, wow, what just happened? Where did we lose all this time in regards of what was going on? So there you go. There you go. So, how have you been? Seriously, how have you been? Because it's always crucial to find out what's going on with you before we do anything else. Let's just be realistic. Without you being here, there is no show. There is no. I don't even know why I call it a show. Because it's a conversation. It's an ongoing conversation of just the stuff that's going on inside of the world of the biz. Because I never understand how to handle some of these scenarios.
Duh.
So that's just some of the stuff that we have to talk about. Because I look around and I go, if we do not talk about exactly what is going on, why are we even sitting here?
Duh.
So as we do our little show, our show consists of safety in the news and safety. That's just kind of really how it goes. We bring in some professional broadcasters. They lay out the lay of the land on what exactly is going on inside of the world of the news cycle. Now, a lot of people tend to complain about this, and I'm okay with it, about why do I bring so much news? Because I think we need topical information before we go into a safety meeting. If you go into a safety meeting and you just start off talking about safety, you're probably not going to get far. You're not going to get very far about just talking about that. Some people will look at you and go, what the hell's going on? And some people will look at you and go, well, if this is what he wants to talk about or she wants to talk about, knock yourself out, but you're going to lose them. And I think that if we bring up topics that are important that are going on right now in the real world, in real time, people will seem to care more. So that is the reason why I tried to give you everything that's going on as the day begins.
Let the day begin.
So there you go. That's what's going on. So if you want to interact with the show, it's a simple process on doing so. Callinradio.com. That's callinradio.com. We'll get you moving and grooving inside of the world of the multiverse. That's just kind of how it goes. Once you get there and you go into that mess, boom. Audio, video, and text messaging. That's just kind of the way of the layout works. And then once that kind of passes through, we're running. We're just running with everything that we got. So let's go ahead and do this real quick. I do have my friends from Feature Story News waiting in the wings, wanting to talk about what the hell's going on with the news stories. So we can bring them in. They can talk about what the hell's going on, and then we can just go from there. So if you're good to go, I'm good to go.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
From Feature Story News in Brussels, I'm William Denslow. Dozens of people are believed to have been killed as Israel says it struck 100 Hezbollah sites in Lebanon. Meanwhile, Israel claims it's killed the commander of Hamas's military wing in Gaza, despite a ceasefire being in place. Dr. René van der Wert, a representative in the occupied Palestinian territory for the World Health Organization, has described the situation on the ground.
Nothing prepares you for Gaza. And I thought going in the second time would make things easier, but it just doesn't. Despite the ceasefire of last October, there is perhaps less fire, but the violence continues. We hear bombs nearby. There is gunfire every day.
A US-Iran deal faces an uncertain few days, despite US President Donald Trump saying it's largely negotiated. It comes after the US launched strikes on vessels off the Iranian coast that it said were laying mines. Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Peace negotiations continue to appear on shaky ground, the latest sticking point revolving around the unfreezing of frozen Iranian assets, with it being reported that Tehran is demanding $24 billion as a precondition to continued talks. All of that after the US struck Iranian boats and Israel carried out one of the heaviest days of bombings in weeks, striking targets it says were controlled by Hezbollah in Lebanon. Iran is now threatening a decisive, swift response, leaving the fragile ceasefire in even more uncertain territory. I'm Nick Harper in Washington.
The Serum Institute of India is partnering with Oxford University to fast-track an Ebola vaccine. Though India hasn't reported any cases of Ebola, the development comes amid rising cases in Central Africa. Ishan Garg reports.
Reports say the Oxford Vaccine Group is working urgently with the Serum Institute of India to develop and scale doses of a vaccine against the Bundibugyo strain of Ebola, a strain for which no approved vaccine currently exists. Scientists say clinical-grade doses could be ready within 2 to 3 months, pending successful pre-clinical trials. Meanwhile, in India's tech capital, Bengaluru, a 28-year-old has been isolated at the state-run epidemic disease hospital after developing mild Ebola-like symptoms, including body ache. India's health ministry says no confirmed cases of Ebola have been detected in the country and stresses all measures are precautionary.
Former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair says Britain faces relegation from the Premier League of Nations. He's published a withering analysis of the current government, accusing it of not having coherent plans and harming economic growth with its policies. Tony Blair says his party replacing Keir Starmer as Labour leader will be irrelevant without a policy debate about tackling the country's challenges. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, hearing today and tomorrow from the UN's top humanitarian aid official about the scale of the challenge posed by the ongoing crisis in Gaza. Tom Fletcher is the World Body's Under-Secretary General, coordinating government and NGO efforts to get humanitarian supplies into the territory and clear the rubble there. Today, the issue of the supplies. It is a complicated picture.
Post-ceasefire, we've been getting in enough to feed 1.5 million hot meals a day, for example. Tens of thousands of shelters. We've got 100,000 kids back into some form of education. We've just finished a big vaccination campaign. So there's a lot of very good things there happening that we weren't being allowed to do before the ceasefire. Against that, we're still facing a big restriction on what we can bring in, a lot of restriction on dual-use items, including things like wheelchairs and so on, and school materials that we can't get in at the scale we need. And our NGO colleagues are still facing massive registration issues. So we really rely on those NGOs. We're a community here, and especially in a time of massive cuts, it can't just be the UN agencies. We need that partnership with the NGOs, and they're facing huge restrictions on what they can bring in.
Those restrictions being imposed by the Israelis, they say, for security reasons. Tomorrow, the Undersecretary General on what's happening to all that rubble.
The main news again. Israel claims it's killed the commander of Hamas's military wing in Gaza, despite a ceasefire being in place. Dozens of people are believed to have been killed, as Israel says it's also struck 100 Hezbollah sites in Lebanon. And a US-Iran deal faces an uncertain few days, despite US President Donald Trump saying it's largely negotiated. It comes after the US launched strikes on vessels off the Iranian coast that it said were laying mines. And that's the latest feature story news. William Denslow reporting.
Another pitfall of our society. Rated R Safety Show.
This isn't a safety manual. It's a transmission. Jay Allen, Ph.D., host of the Rated R Safety Show and founder of Safety FM, has spent years pulling back the curtain on the systems we work in and the ones we don't talk about. What started as a fatal crash on the 405 became a search for truth. Through behavior-based safety, human and organizational performance, simulation theory, and everything in between. Safety, in my opinion, is raw, reflective, and real. From burnout to breakthroughs, from the matrix to the moment someone says, "This doesn't feel right." This book doesn't give you answers. It hands you the signal. Safety, in my opinion. Available now, wherever books and audiobooks are found.
Let's start using cutting-edge warp speed 5G technology with your cell phone. Let me tell you about my friends at mobilemobile.io. They have an ultra-fast 4G LTE and 5G network that covers 99% of Americans. So they've got you covered everywhere. Think about it for a moment. You have the opportunity to take a test drive for 10 days with unlimited talk, text, and premium data. What is premium data? Premium data is an allotment of a cellular data that you receive from a higher priority on the network. You won't get throttled like you will with some of those, non-brand service providers. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to mobilemobile.io. That's mobilemobile.io to start your 10-day free trial.
This show is almost as enjoyable as hearing the sound of the toilet flush. Rated R Safety Show on Safety FM.
I guess the question becomes, how enjoyable is that when it's all said and done? So there you go. Anyway, so let's start talking right away as we are 13 minutes past the top of the hour doing all the fun stuff that we get to do inside of the world of the multiverse, because there is no doubt about that. So a lot of stuff going on as we are talking. Should we give you this one? Let's give you this one.
It's hump day, where productivity goes to stretch before quitting early.
Yeah, hump day today, whip them out Wednesday, as we like to call them around here. That is for sure. A lot of stuff going on. I will tell you, it is only the second day of the work week for most, and it already seems like we're closer to the end than what we are to the beginning. So there you go. So let's start talking right away about some things that are going on inside of the world of the news, because that is what is going on inside of here. So I got a few of them that are kind of interesting, but I want to start off with this one. I want you to kind of envision this for just a moment. An 18-wheeler carrying roughly 11,000 pounds of Kit Kat bars overturned on Monday on Interstate 20 near Brandon, Mississippi, after the trailer reportedly disconnected and rolled onto the entrance ramp. Officials say that the truck was heading eastbound when the tractor hauling the candy separated from the cab and flipped over near the Highway 80 exit. The crash shut down the ramp in both directions for several hours while the crew cleaned up chocolate-covered mess. Thankfully, no injuries were reported, although a dentist probably just bought a new boat. Police described the scene as a real break, if you get what I'm saying, and traffic was backed up for miles, mostly by people asking if the candy was still good. Take a listen to this.
Give me a break, give me a break, break me off a piece of that. Break me off a piece of that. Break me off a piece of that.
I know I normally don't try to play ads inside of the middle of this thing, but man, can you tell me, like, a Kit Kat bar all of a sudden? So just think about this. Hershey executives are calling it a chocolate spill. Americans are calling it a tragedy. Mention that incident inspired Kit Kat to come up with a new jingle. Now, I'm just going to tell you this because I think it's kind of interesting. Can you imagine if you had to work on Monday and all of a sudden you said you were late because there was a whole bunch of Kit Kat bars in the middle of the road? I want to tell you, something tells me that someone is not going to believe you at work.
Safety never sounded so terrible. Rated R Safety Show.
I'm just saying, it just doesn't sound like it would be something that would be believable. Most people would be like, I think you're full of shit. Let's just be realistic if we're going to be talking about some of this stuff. Okay, so let's continue talking about some other things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse, because that just seems like the thing to do. So an 86-year-old West Virginia great-grandmother named Pauline Monk has gone viral after proudly declaring herself as the queen of Taco Bell. Monk, who is battling a rare stage 4 cancer, became the first customer inside of the brand new Taco Bell in Seasonville, West Virginia. She told a local reporter she didn't think that she'd live long enough to see it open, but said, "Thank the Lord, I'm here to open it up." No, she didn't say that. Her first order, Nacho Bell Grande with the Diet Pepsi, absolutely royalty behavior. The granddaughter posted the emotional moment online where it quickly went viral, even catching the attention of Clay Aiken and Taco Bell itself, which is now sending her gift cards and swag. Despite her diagnosis, Monk says that she's focused on joy, faith, family, and finally having Taco Bell in town without having to drive 14 miles. She's officially the one person with emotional supported Baja Blast. And Queen of Taco Bell sounds like a rejected WWE character, and I mean that respectfully. Now, take a listen to what she had to say.
I've heard you're really excited about the new Taco Bell.
Oh, I want to go for all the time. It's one of my favorite restaurants. It got here that I found I had terminal cancer, and I didn't think I'd live to see it built, but thank the Lord I'm here. And I'm here today to open it up. I'm the queen of the Taco
Bell. What do you love about Taco Bell?
Oh, all that good food there, the tacos, everything, and the people normally that run it are really good people. And my husband, he didn't used to care for Taco Bell, and I got him going now, and he's a Taco Bell too.
So there you go. Taco Bell is, I guess is what makes her feel inspired about things is definitely what it sounds like. So good for her that she was able to make it to her Taco Bell opening in closer than 14 miles, because that seems to be important to her. So let's start talking about some other things that are going on inside of the world of the multiverse. A 75-year-old Michigan military veteran, Lloyd Poole, has died 5 months after allegedly being sucker punched by a DoorDash driver outside of his home. Police say that the confrontation began after Poole yelled at the driver speeding through the neighborhood. Investigators allege that the driver, 40-year-old Ryan Turner, stopped his car, exchanged words with Poole, and then punched him in the head before driving away. Poole suffered a catastrophic brain injury and never regained consciousness after emergency surgery. Prosecutors are reviewing whether to upgrade the charges following his death. So what do you think here? I'm just asking. I'm always amazed on the amount of road rage incidents that you get to see out there. And if you kind of look online, because, that's just kind of where we live.
In the social media world.
Yeah, you see a lot of this stuff. You see a lot of the stuff that happens behind the scenes here, where people are posting videos of somebody having a road rage incident of what's ever going on. So should this be upgraded? Who knows? I was watching a video yesterday. This is not a joke. This was supposedly happening right on the outskirts of Tampa, Florida, where there was a lady in the middle of the highway, stopped her car, jumped on top of her car, and decided to start dancing on the very top of her SUV, because it was an SUV, as she's yelling at someone. And I just don't understand what would be the thought process behind that. But then again, there's a lot of things inside of my life that I don't understand when it comes to stuff, but that's just how it goes.
Listen at your own risk. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so Iran is demanding $24 billion in frozen funds from the United States as part of any deal to end the escalating conflict with President Trump after fresh American strikes hit targets in the southern Iran region. According to the Iranian state media, negotiators meeting in Qatar want at least half of the money released immediately once the ceasefire agreement is signed, with the rest paid within 2 months. The demand came after the U.S. forces reportedly launched strikes on missile sites and boats near the Strait of Hormuz. That officials say that we're preparing to lay naval mines. Iran claims that they responded by shooting down a U.S. MQ-9 drone and firing on Americans' F-35 stealth fighters, forcing it to retreat. The Regime Revolutionary Guard also warned that any future U.S. military action would trigger what is called a decisive retaliation. So basically, everyone's holding matches while standing in the gasoline refinery. Iran's foreign ministry accused the U.S. of violating the ceasefire for over at least 48 hours, saying that Tehran would defend its sovereignty and leave no act of aggression unanswered. So what do you think here? It's definitely getting more and more interesting as time is going on, and you are noticing a lot of interesting things as we continue to talk about this stuff. So what are you thinking when it's all said and done? I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see what happens here over the next few weeks. Anyways, take a listen to this. 3 suspects accused of targeting the homes of pro athletes, including Travis Kelce, have been charged in Chile as part of an international burglary investigation. Authorities say that the group allegedly stole jewelry, luxury watches, jerseys, and sports memorabilia from athletes across the U.S. and Argentina during a string of break-ins in the 2024 and 2025. The arrest came after 2 suspects were caught in Argentina following a robbery at the home of retired tennis star Juan Martín del Potro. Police say that the suspects are linked to organized South American theft ring that specifically target athletes while they were away at games. Homes connected to Patrick Holmes and Joe Burrow were also reportedly hit. According to the FBI, the thieves use social media surveillance, Wi-Fi jammers, and other tactics to track players, schedules, and bypass security systems. U.S. authorities are now seeking extradition. Turns out that heading out to a road game on Instagram is basically sending burglars a calendar invite. Now, a couple of things here, because we need to talk about this, because I think it's always interesting.
Duh.
So, this is why you should be kind of hesitant before you post shit online in regards to what you're doing. Hey, I'm gone. I'm leaving the country. I'm going out of town. I'm not going to be home. You know, all the weird stuff that people like to post, I never understand it. I have an acquaintance, is what I should call her, that she does not post anything about flights or leaving or heading anywhere until she arrives back. This way it avoids any kind of issues going forward. But I think it's always kind of interesting, like when you have the billboard out there where people are like, I am heading out of the country. I am going here next week. I will not be at home. Have fun going through my stuff. I know, kind of a weird thing to say, but it's kind of sometimes that's how it comes across when you're hanging out online and posting everything that you're doing every 5 seconds. It becomes very interesting.
More sarcasm than a Mortal Kombat beatdown. Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so if you're ready for this, let's share this. The Trump administration is reportedly preparing major cuts to the U.S. military assets reserved for NATO in the event of European conflict. According to the reports, a Pentagon envoy sent to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told NATO officials in a closed-door Brussels meeting that the U.S. plans to reduce fighter jet supports by roughly a third, remove Navy destroyers from NATO's force pool, and pull U.S. submarines from the alliance entirely. The changes would force the European allies to cover more of their own military needs. And let's see. Including reconnaissance drones and naval protections. Officials were reportedly caught off guard by both the size and the speed of the proposed crackdown. So there you go. There you go. What do you think? Definitely will put some changes into some things for you as we are talking. What do you think here? I don't know. Sometimes the speed on how we move with certain things are kind of mind-boggling when it comes to stuff, but I guess that's a good thing. And maybe not a bad thing, where some people would say that it would be a bad thing, but I never know. I look at it and go, it just gets crazy out there as we are kind of hanging out. And okay, so anyways, with that being said, let's continue talking about some other stuff. Clarence B. Jones, the longtime advisor and speechwriter for Martin Luther King Jr., has died at the age of 95. Jones played a major role in civil rights movement, serving as a King's personal attorney, trusted advisor, and collaborator from the 1960s until King's assassination in 1968. He helped draft parts of the legendary I Have a Dream speech, helped smuggle King's letter from Birmingham jail out of prison, and worked on the landmark Supreme Court case, New York Times Company versus Sullivan. In 2024, Joe Biden awarded Jones with the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Beyond civil rights work, Jones later became the first African-American allied member of the New York Stock Exchange and taught at Stanford University and the University of San Francisco. Jones was also recently featured in a documentary, The Baddest Speechwriter of All, produced by Stephen Curry and directed by Ben Proudfoot. The film won major prize at Sundance, and it is expected to land on Netflix later this year. So terrible to hear about the passing, but definitely something that we will take a look at, I guess, when the documentary comes out on Netflix, because it definitely sounds interesting as we are moving forward. Okay, take a listen to this one. NASA says that it wants to build a permanent city-sized base on the moon within the next 6 years. Yeah, let's say that.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
At this time, the goal isn't just planting the flag and leaving. NASA Administrator Jared Isaacman announced plans for multiple moon-based missions this year as part of the Artemis program, saying that America is returning to the moon, and this time to stay. The proposed base would reportedly span hundreds of square miles near the moon's south pole and run on nuclear and solar power. The project would support long-term astronaut stays, scientific research, robotic missions, and future preparation for Mars mission. NASA says that the environment will be brutally extreme, with temperatures swinging from scorching heat to deep freeze conditions that make the Antarctica look like a spring break. The agency roadmap includes 21 lunar landings through 2028 to prepare for the site, and followed by the infrastructure construction from 2029 to 2032, after NASA hopes to establish continuous human presence on the moon. I will tell you, and let's just be realistic. There's so many things that are going on right now when it comes to space, when it comes to UFOs, when it comes to all this stuff that we're talking about that's going on in the news, that if you told me this was a science fiction movie, I would almost believe you in regards on how crazy some of this stuff gets from time to time. I mean, think about it for a moment. If I would have told you a year ago, matter of fact, if I would have told you 5 years ago that we would be talking about aliens as something kind of normal, how crazy would you have thought I was? I mean, let's just kind of make it a little bit different. How crazy would you have thought I was compared to how normal crazy you think I am? That's going to be the other part. So what do you think as we continue to talk about these things? Is it getting to the point that it's like, we're not going to get anything passed anymore in regards to what's going on? I mean, think about this. Between UFO, now we're going to try to build a place on the moon. Elon Musk is talking about trying to build, livable places on Mars. AI takeover. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on. It's getting a little bit crazier and hazier as we are hanging out there. I mean, no doubt about that. Exactly what we're talking about here.
Who truly cares what this guy has to say? Who gives a shit? Rated R Safety Show.
Okay, so let's start talking right away about some things as we are hanging out and doing some weird stuff as we are talking. We already talked about the 18-wheeler, but let's talk about this. You know, sometimes we go to graduations and I kind of get freaked out about some of the things that are going on, but just be glad you weren't in Tennessee. A graduation ceremony in Ripley High School in Tennessee turned chaotic after multiple fights broke out during the event, leading to 11 arrests, according to the Lauderdale County Sheriff's Office. 7 men, 1 woman, and 3 juveniles were charged in connection with the brawl, with many facing charges including inciting a riot and disorderly conduct. Officials said that most suspects later turned themselves in. Video from the ceremony showed chairs overturned across the gym floor as family members and attendees appeared to join the fight. Authorities said the violence ruined what should have been a celebration honoring students' years of hard work. School Superintendent Selena Sparkman defended the graduates, saying that the fights were started by adults, not students. The sheriff's office called the behavior selfish and disgraceful, and said graduates were robbed of a once-in-a-lifetime moment. Nothing says the graduating class of 2026 quite like ducking folding chairs on the way to get your diploma. And graduation went from caps and gowns to cops and cuffs, is what it sounds like. In 1 minute, it was a graduation. The next, it looked like a Black Friday thing in most retail stores of what goes on behind the scenes. So there you go. So take a listen to this one, because this one almost sounds Nebraska gas station turned into a world's worst dog park on Saturday after a dog inside of a pickup truck reportedly triggered a loaded shotgun, sending a blast through the vehicle and injuring a woman. Yeah, not a joke here, sitting in a nearby traffic light. According to police, the Scotts Bluff, the truck owner, had stepped inside of a convenience store while another passenger stood outside of it near the passenger door. The dog was left alone inside of a truck and reportedly moved around in the backseat, somehow hitting the shotgun that had a live round in the chamber. The gun fired through the passenger side door across the parking lot and hit a woman several yards away in the arm while she was sitting in her vehicle with her arm resting out the window. Thankfully, the injury was not considered life-threatening, and she was taken to the hospital by a family member. Police originally thought that the incident was involved by a BB gun before realizing that it was an actual shotgun blast. The investigators also found damage to the truck consistent that the discharge. The Scotts Bluff Police Department is continuing to investigate. So police say that the dog accidentally fired the shotgun. The ATF says that he is now classified a Labra trigger. I know. Just take that one for what it is. Okay, with that being said, 32 minutes past the top of the hour. So why don't we go ahead and do that thing that we normally do around this time that we definitely call our main story.
Here is our main story on the Rated R Safety Show.
Yep, main story time. Time to talk. Time to do our thing. And all right, let's go ahead and get into that main story today. And let's pull up the chair and shake off that corporate buzzwords, and let's take a trip using that garbage scripts that we do. And it's time to look at what we actually is happening to the soul of our industry. So I have to tell you about this because I thought it was kind of interesting. Over the weekend, a picture popped up on my feed, on my social media feed, that completely, stopped me in what I was thinking about. And it was an image of a guy standing in a prestigious university podium, and he was wearing a full traditional academic, robe, and the standard stuff. Heavily hooded, while the whole 9 yards, the whole thing, how you would wear that robe, the cap, the gown, the layover, the whole 9 yards. But he's also rocking some spiky hair and a pair of dark sunglasses. And I looked into it a little bit more, and it was Dexter Holland, the lead singer of the punk rock band The Offspring. And the reason that he's standing there isn't just because he's a rock star. It's because the guy holds a legitimate hard-earned Ph.D. in molecular biology. Molecular biology. He was giving a commencement speech to a room full of graduates, and he had dropped a line that hit right at the chest. I mean, because there's just no other way to put it. And he looked out at the crowd and said, "I hope you never feel forced to trade your aspiration for a paycheck or your passion for a title." When I read that, it made me sit back and think, because that is the exact quote that exposes the massive unspoken crisis of integrity that is quietly swallowing the safety industry complex as a whole. Think about this for a moment. But before we look at the corporate side of this, let's completely be transparent for a second. I had to look in the mirror when I saw that, because a lot of you know, I live that exact same paradox. I hold a Ph.D. myself, and I did the heavy academic lifting, and I spent the years in research, and I wrote the signal transmission trilogies, and technically I have the credentials to walk into any stuffy boardroom on the planet and demand people to address me as
Doctor.
You know, that bullshit that we get to do. But instead, I sit behind this microphone every single day on a broadcast called the Rated R Safety Show and talking about the raw, unfiltered, dirty boots language to the people who actually are out there doing the heavy lifting. And it's not, and I'm being completely honest with you here. Not that I'm not completely honest with you all the time, but most of the time, I think the whole worshiping the credential things is completely bullshit. I just think it's the dumbest thing about, oh my God, I have to put all these letters where you can know how important I am. Our industry is pathologically obsessed with letters after a name. We treat the Ph.D., a CSP, a CIH, or a engineering degree like a golden ticket that automatically grants you absolute moral authority on a job site, even if you haven't stepped a foot on the live dangerous shop floor in a decade. To the corporate machine, those titles are just branding shields. They use them to look important at the committee meetings and say, satisfy insurance underwriter right here. But out in the mud, out in the grease, nobody gives a single shit about the alphabet soup after your name. If you don't know how to talk it to a crew, status saves lives, right? Does it? Because I don't think it does. It doesn't save lives at all. And that brings us right back to Dexter Holland. The warning, because the corporate safety complex is designed to force you to make the ultimate sellout trade. Think about it for a moment. Think about the standard trajectory of a safety professional. Nobody walks out of school or steps into the industry side for the first time thinking, man, I can't wait to write a standard operating procedure. Can't wait to write that SOP or an audit compliance checklist or build a legal shield to protect a multi-billion-dollar company from liability. Nobody starts there. You start with the moral aspiration. You start with the passion. You look at men and women doing the high-risk labor and you say, my job is to make sure that these human beings get home to their families in one piece. It's purely a moral foundation is normally where this starts. But then the corporate matrix offers you the trade. They look at your original passion and they say, offer to swap it for a title. They dangle the golden handcuffs. They offer you a six-figure salary. They give you the keys to a brand new company truck. They hand you a pristine white hard hat that will never see a drop of sweat. And then they give you the shiny new title, Global Director of EHS Assurance and System Compliance. And slowly, subtly, the trap snaps shut. Suddenly, your original moral compass gets retrofitted to protect the assets instead of the human beings. Your passion from keeping workers alive gets completely traded for the title that requires you to defend the spreadsheet at a quarterly board meeting. You stop being the advocate for the crew in the trenches, and you become the compliance police guarding the corporate spreadsheet. You trade the aspiration for the paycheck, and you trade your integrity for status. The higher up your corporate ladder you climb, the more the system requires you to perform the script. You learn to stop telling the raw, ugly truth about systemic operation failures because you don't want to jeopardize your standing, your title, and your bonus options. The corporate system buys your silence and buys your complicity with bigger title. And while we have the audacity to celebrate it as career advancement,
Career advancement.
but the truth is, If your paycheck or your title requires you to leave your morals and at the security gate every single morning, you aren't a safety leader. You are just a corporate insurance policy walking around in work boots. Think about that for a moment. Dexter Holland stood at a podium in his academic robes, but wore his sunglasses because he refuses to stay stuffy. Elite systems strip away the identity or change who sees you as you were fundamentally. He refused to sell out. And we need to start doing that exact same thing in our workplace. We need to reclaim the original aspiration. And we need to remember that our alliance belongs to the workers in the line and not the corporate legal script. Think about that for a moment. Let that marinate. Because I think it's important for us to think about all these things, opposed to just jumping in and making a run for it because you got a title offer or because something was offered to you that is not normally offered to most. If you went back and you looked at how your career was originally starting to where you are now and all these things were offered to you, are you the same person or are you entirely somebody different? Did you sell out your morals for a title?
Oops! What did he just say?
We at Safety FM don't always agree with the viewpoints of our hosts and guests.
Now back to real safety talk on Safety FM.
Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to the home of real safety talk.
You are listening to Safety FM. We'll be right back.
This portion of the show has been sponsored by Private Internet Access, America's #1 virtual private network, or VPN. Even if you use incognito mode, internet service providers is storing your browser data and many times even selling it. But Private Internet Access, or PIA, can help you. PIA encrypts and reroutes your internet traffic through one of its own servers, hiding your data from your internet service provider or network admin. And with servers in over 75 countries, you can get unrestricted access to geo-blocked content from around the world. PIA comes with easy-to-use apps and browsers extension for all devices, a rock-solid privacy policy, open source security, advanced customization settings, and it was just ranked the fastest VPN in the world by PC Magazine. And if you sign up right now with PIA, you can take advantage of a special deal only for Safety FM listeners. Only by using the following link, you can get the digital privacy for less than $2 a month. Yes, you did hear me correctly, less than $2 a month, and an extra 4 months for free. So that means for only $1.98 a month and 83% off, you can get this service for you right now. That's so much more inexpensive than virtually every other VPN on the market. And if you get it right now, you can take PIA's 30-day risk-free challenge. You can try it out for 30 days, see if you like it, and if not, just return it for a full refund. So just go to safetyfm.com/VPN. That's safetyfm.com/VPN to try out the best VPN on the planet completely risk-free. Now remember, safetyfm.com/VPN.
What if everything we thought we knew about safety was just interference? From the host of the Rated R Safety Show and the founder of Safety FM comes the complete signal transmission trilogy, now available in one powerful edition. Safety, in my opinion. The book that started the conversation. Safety Mutation, where the boundaries of culture, systems, and belief begin to break. And now, Safety Transmission, the final piece of the signal. For the first time, all three books are together in one volume. The Signal Transmission Trilogy, Complete Edition. This isn't just about compliance. It's about consciousness. It's about decoding the way we think, lead, and live, inside and outside the system. Whether you've been following the signal since the beginning or you're just now tuning in, this is the version to own. Search Signal Trilogy on Amazon or visit safetyfm.com to get your copy now.
We are radio. We are sarcasm. We are both combined. Radio Big.
Stars are fighting all the same. She's such a sucker, but she lights dark work of fire and all the same. She's such a sucker. I'm in chains, got my plane, but there's just nowhere to land. I'm all in, called your bluff, but then the Sam's killer hand.
Okay. Here we go. Nowhere to land. That's the song that's playing as we are 45 minutes into the top of the hour. Yep. Yeah, this is Saints of Valerie allowing us to play this here on the Rated R Safety Show. Songs readily available on Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and Pandora. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's just nowhere to land. Okay. You know that this is one of those stuck ones, meaning that if we get too far here, I'm just going to continue to play it. Some good guitar vibe there, that's for sure, as we are hanging out here on the Rated R Safety Show. So let's start talking right away. And as you might be aware, if you hung out with us before, this is the part where I will tell you the most important thing that will ever tell you in my lifetime. Seriously. And this is about my friends at To Write Love on Her Arms. No matter what you're facing, you deserve to be connected to help. And we want you to know that people have been where you are now, and things can get better. Healing is possible. To find out more information, all you have to do is go to TWLOHA.com. That's TWLOHA.com, and click on the section that says Find Help. Once you get there, all kinds of information for you related to addiction, depression, anxiety, eating disorder, self-injury, suicide, trauma, grief support, just to name a few. That's TWLOHA.com. To Write Love on Her Arms. Listen, I'm going to tell you, once you get there, there's all kinds of resources, everything that you can imagine under the sun related to this subject matter. And if you want to, there's even some other things inside of there. If you scroll down just a slight bit, about crisis hotlines. If you're in the U.S. and Canada, you can go to 741-741 and just text anything inside of there. It'll trigger everything going on. If you're in the U.K., 85258. Trigger right there. If you're in Ireland, 50808. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, you can call or text 988. TransLife, you can call 877-565-8860, or the Trevor Project line, and that's 866-488-7386. So listen, all kinds of numbers, all kinds of resources readily available for you for anything that you're looking for. Go to that website, TWLOHA.com, and click on the section that says Find Help. I'm going to tell you, it can change everything for you. No doubt about that. Okay, so let's talk about it because today's the 27th of May. This is happening on July the 13th in good old Orlando, Florida. We will have an event that we're calling Reality Shifts, an observational symposium that will be taking place. We will have live inside of the theater with us Nick Weatherly talking about behavior-based safety. We will have Todd Conklin there talking about human and organizational performance. I will be there talking about Signal. And we would love to see you there to have the interaction. We'll also be airing a documentary as we are there inside of a movie theater. Why would you not take advantage of the screen while we're there? So all you have to do is scan the QR code that's on the screen, or you can go to safetyfm.com, or you can go to safetyfm.io. If you go to safetyfm.com, click on the hub section. That will give you all the information right there. If not, you can go to safetyfm.io. That will get you exactly into the information of what the hell's going on. So there you go. A lot of different ways on doing this. if you're so inclined to do so. So there you go. SafetyFM.io, or you can go to, like I said, QR code right there on the screen and scan it. So a lot of different ways. We would love to see you there. We're doing it on Monday, July the 13th, because, hey, we would love for you to hang out in Orlando, do some things before we get, into the whole thing on Monday. So there you go. Okay, so with that being said, I do have John Small waiting in the wing, wanting to talk about what the hell's going on with the Motivation Minute. So let's go ahead and do that.
Courtesy of JaceCaseMedical.com. Today's quote was submitted by Tom. Tina Fey said, "You can't be that kid standing at the top of the water slide overthinking it. You have to go down the chute." Cool quote. I said something similar to a friend who asked me for advice when he was starting a business. At that point in my life, I'd started a few businesses and we were just starting another. This friend was asking for advice and I told him, test the waters, then jump in. I shared the story of the first time I was allowed to go to the big swimming pool. In my hometown, there was a swimming pool for little kids and a regular pool, and that was separated by a chain link fence. The first time my mom let us go to the big pool, I ran directly to the high dive. I climbed the huge ladder, I walked to the end, and I jumped in. Then I swam over to the side and I did it again about 100 times. Get over your fear and go do it. Don't stand there and overthink it.
The Motivation Minute.
This has been the Motivation Minute. I'm John Small. Thanks for listening. Your favorite motivational quotes can be submitted for upcoming programs at motivationminute.org.
Here is the news on the Rated R Safety Show.
Health officials continued monitoring passengers from a cruise ship outbreak after several Americans returned home for additional medical observation this week.
Federal disease experts said exposed travelers were transported to medical facilities in multiple states following emergency evacuations overseas. Authorities urged remaining passengers to follow testing guidance, while crews completed deep cleaning procedures aboard the vessel. Kevin Sanders reporting.
Fresh diplomatic talks raised hopes for easing the Iran conflict after negotiators signaled progress toward reopening the vital Strait of Hormuz.
American and Iranian officials continued discussions through mediators from Qatar and Pakistan, following months of fighting and shipping disruptions. Leaders from both countries indicated further announcements could arrive within days if remaining disputes are resolved. Chris Anderson reporting.
A Senate hearing on federal law enforcement spending featured sharp questions for FBI Director Kash Patel over agency management practices this week.
Patel testified before lawmakers reviewing budget requests for several justice agencies during a closely watched Capitol Hill appearance. Members of both parties challenged bureau priorities, while administration officials defended ongoing staffing and security operations nationwide. Jessica Oakley reporting.
Federal investigators continued examining a small plane crash off the Florida coast after all 11 people aboard survived the incident.
Rescue crews pulled passengers from the water after the aircraft went down shortly, following departure from a regional airport. Transportation officials are reviewing data and witness statements while investigators work to determine cause the accident. Kyle Norris reporting.
Pope Leo met grieving Italian families after renewed attention focused on toxic dumping sites blamed for serious illnesses in communities.
The pontiff spoke with parents from the so-called Land of Fires region, where illegal waste burning has contaminated neighborhoods. Environmental advocates are pressing Italian authorities for stronger cleanup efforts and medical support for residents. Gary Beck reporting.
President Donald Trump met with national security advisors as negotiations continued over a possible agreement aimed at ending conflict with Iran.
White House officials said several diplomatic proposals remain under review, following weeks of military tensions and economic uncertainty. Administration representatives indicated additional meetings are expected, while lawmakers continue debating American involvement and future security commitments. Lawrence Keller reporting.
Ukrainian leaders promised new strikes against Russian military targets after deadly missile attacks on Kyiv killed civilians earlier this week.
Officials in Kyiv said air defenses faced heavy pressure during the overnight assault that damaged homes and government buildings. European allies renewed support for Ukraine, while regional leaders warned the fighting could further threaten supplies. Benjamin Wright reporting.
And that's the latest news headlines with Alan Edwards.
Pop quiz, hotshot. During a heat wave, what's more important, air conditioning or air guitar?
Is it air conditioning?
Air guitar. The answer is always air guitar. Radio
prepare yourself.
We are now being distributed on iHeartRadio. Listen on iHeartRadio app. Radio Big.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting into some of the things that are going on today. Let's talk about today in history. In 1968, the National League awards Montreal and San Diego for their major league franchises. In 1969, Jerry Lewis Show second run last airs on NBC TV. In 1969 as well, the Walt Disney World construction begins. Let's talk about this. In 1994, the final broadcast of the Arsenio Hall talk show. In 1994 as well, Larry King ended his radio show. And let's see, 1994, I guess we're just going to be stuck there for a moment. Radio conservative Rush Limbaugh, 43, weds Marta Fitzgerald, 35 at that time. So there you go. And in 1997, Russian President Boris Yeltsin signs a historic treaty with NATO. So that all happened back on the dates that I was referring to. So there you go. Let's talk about some birthdays that are going on today, or some celebrity birthdays. Richard Schiff turned 71. Neil Finn turned 68. Adam Carolla turned 62 today. Todd Bridges, 61. Jack McBrayer turns 53. Andre 3000 turns 51 today. Jadakiss turns 51. And Chris Colfer turns 36 today, just in case if you wanted to know. So let's talk about some other things. Let's talk about some things that you ought to know. Tonight's Powerball jackpot is for $154 million. Here's last night's winning Mega Million numbers. Jackpot was $311 million. It was 1549. 51-59, and the mega ball was 7. Scientists are warning that the Earth's population boom could eventually swing hard in the opposite direction. While the global population currently sits at about 8.3 billion people, experts say the worst-case scenario could see the number dramatically collapse within the next 40 years. Researchers warn that humanity's population could potentially be cut in half by 2064 if several major crises hit at once. Among the biggest concerns, climate collapse, future pandemics, large-scale global conflict, and a severe shortage of food, water, and other resources. The warning highlights the growing fears of the same planet struggling to support rapidly growing population could eventually face the opposite problem, a massive population decline caused by environmental and geopolitical disasters. So some things to think about. Also, in some other news, officials in New York are reportedly putting together a bid to host the future Winter Olympics. Hoping to recreate the unforgettable moments that still define the Olympics history decades later, the effort is being fueled by the memories of legendary miracle on ice in the 1980s Winter Olympics, when the underdog U.S. hockey team stunned heavily the favored Soviet Union in one of the biggest upsets in sports history. State leaders believe that another Winter Games could create a new generation of iconic moments while bringing the international attention and plenty of tourism dollars back to New York. So there you go. Also, one more thing before President Trump visits Walter Reed National Military Medical Center yesterday morning for his annual physical and wasted no time giving himself a glowing review. Before any official medical reports was released, Trump posted on Truth Social, "Everything checked out perfectly," and thanked the doctors and staff before heading back to the White House. So there you go. Okay, at the top of the hour, I will be going over to radiobig.fm if you want to come and hang out with me for the next couple hours or so. If not, you can hang out here with the likes of Sheldon Primus as he talks about the world of safety consulting. If you need some words of wisdom for today, don't waste energy trying to win arguments with people committed to misunderstanding you. And if you need some words of advice, use chopsticks to hold tacos upright and bring them up because they're totally still filled. Think about it. Oh, it's so fantastic. Anyways, I know who you are. Duh. You know who I am. Love you, mean it, and goodbye.
The views and opinions expressed during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are solely those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Safety FM and or Radio Big. The content discussed, including examples of analysis, is provided for illustrative purposes only. It should not be applied as the sole solution in real-world scenarios. as it is based on limited and dated open source information. Any assumptions made during this broadcast, podcast, or radio show are not reflective of Safety FM and or Radio Big. No portion of this broadcast, podcast, or radio show may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of Safety FM and or Radio Big. For permission requests, please contact Safety FM or Radio Big directly.
All the same, you're such a sucker.